now, here's the thing. Right now, no one knows dick all about the Faust matchup. So I'm in this like prime bubble right now where no one knows anything about my character. So I'm having a gay old time playing Faust.
What is up, y'all? KRC Pinto here. Welcome back to Secret Sauce. Today, I'm hanging out with my favorite Canadian Faust player, Krackatoa. Krackatoa, how you doing, man?
Wow, you just threw Kraken under the bus. He's gonna be pissed.
Yeah, I had to do it, though. I mean, you're here, so...
You hear that, Kraken? I'm number one. Number one.
All right, man. So you're a Faust main. Have been a Faust main for a long time. Dude, your character just got buffed. How you feeling?
Yeah, feeling pretty good. He was kind of booty before the patch. Like, there was just a lot of frustrating situations where you didn't really have much in the way of answers to situations. Like, you did have answers, but they weren't answers, right? The damage was too low, or the move was too inconsistent, or you were just like completely punishable, or there was a lot that could go wrong. And so with the patch, the changes to dive kick, the changes to 5H, 2H, and super at the wall, things got a lot more comfortable. So I think the problematic side of Faust kind of like went away in a sense. I still think he struggles in a couple of matchups, usually against like characters who can really dominate him or get into this range really easily, like where he's like right smack dab, kind of like close to them. But overall, I think he's like much more threatening at mid range and at a distance, which was what he needed.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Well, let's start off by just laying out what Faust is about. Can you give me the elevator pitch of this character? Give me like the one sentence to sum him up. What's his game plan?
Spicy zoner. That's it. But I guess that's what we would say when we needed to summarize for Exerd and plus R. But I feel like he's a bit less zony almost. A bit more like chaotic mixed with grappler. So he's sort of like a chaotic grappler, I guess, if I had to go into it. And he just happens to have these really long pokes. It's like weird. He is a weird character. Naturally, he's like kind of big, but he's also kind of small, right? He has crawl, which is the like being able to just like in one frame shrink your hurt box to something that like just goes under stuff, right? It's just like it's kind of nuts. There are some ridiculous like defensive plays you can do with this move. So a lot of your game plan in like is just like keep them out, land stray hits that lead to a lot of item pulls. Now the item pulls, you can just crank them, right? You don't have to. So you just sort of like watch what comes out, and depending on what happens, you adjust, right? Usually, if you get really good items, you just keep pulling, right? So if you just get like a ton of hammers, you just keep throwing. If you get weight, you jump. They can't go through hammers easily. Yeah. And you just like play from there. Your movement in neutral and your like dominating air normals means if they try to like jump over items or approach her from the air when you have items in play, they're not going to get very far if you're ready to air them, right? Like, because like this is a 9-frame normal. It's super fast. It's very dominant. So just by like jumping and like letting it rip, you can kind of like cover the air. And if they decide to approach from the ground, you have access to like some pretty solid mid-range pokes.
I think
so. Yeah.
I think that spicy zoner and chaotic grappler has to be the most like balanced yin-yang description of a character I've ever heard.
Yeah. If I had to put it like that, that's probably what it would be. As far as like being, so maybe we should just touch on each of those concepts, right? So like zoning wise, players are trying to deny him item tosses. If he gets here, let's just set kind of block. If you land a 2H at like super max range, right? Like this, like that, you get a pretty safe item toss in most matchups. I'm not going to say all matchups, but most matchups. And so this can kind of like turn the space of the match around like in an instant. Like if you pull meteors, you win neutral. If you pull hammer, you can pull more items. So if you pull Chibi Faust, you're suddenly in an excellent situation. Chibi Faust is like what is it? The little guy, right? The summoning mini-me, right? So there's a lot of good that can just like crop up from throwing an item. Sometimes you get Donut, and Donut is useless. But like there's a lot that can slow down the pace of the match, giving you time to build more meter. And there's some things that can just cover neutral so well that you can just pull more items, right? So that's strong. If an opponent is like trying to like jockey or like play the anti-projectile war, right, or something, right, and they're delaying, you can actually just like pull a few items, right? Especially if you see them jump backwards like that. You can usually, depending on the matchups, you can usually get a free item toss against characters without double jumps, right? Pot, Nagoriyuki. If you see them jump backwards for any reason, you can usually get a pretty safe item pull. And that can spiral, right? While they're trying to go in, if you find that they like suddenly air dash at you, right? And you're just ready, you just start pulling, right? Off the 6p. It's like Faust can combo from his anti-airs, like his anti-air 6p, and this move is like your best, and in some cases only anti-air. Everything else isn't really like disjoint enough, or it's too slow. But it's not, that was 74 damage, and it did take them to the corner, but sometimes just like starting to play the gotcha is just like way better. Like right here, I'm now winning neutral, right? I've won. Like there's no way they're getting around. There's no way they're getting in through the hammers. There's no way they're stopping me from going in behind Chibi Faust. And then I had trumpet minions also on deck. So they would probably have to eat maybe like 3 strike throw mix-ups. And even if they did manage to hit me and all of that, they would probably get hit by something. So just getting items onto the screen and learning to capitalize can like, you just bully your way in, right? So that's kind of like the kind of what he does at range. He has these big buttons that force people to try and like jump in, air dash in, counter poke at neutral, run forward. And if you do land a stray hit, whether it's like off the air dash or just in neutral, right? You get a chance to pull, right? Just stray hits with Faust lead to lots of stuff, right? So, yeah, that would be like the zoning aspect of him, or like what you're looking for as far as objectives are concerned, in neutral. Now, I did say he's a grappler, right? So he does have a command grab. So normally people like everyone has a throw, right? And this throw's pretty good. It's like every other throw. You can combo from it with RC to break the wall. It does everything a grab would do. People who aren't throw invuln, right? Get grabbed. That's it. You know, but he does have a command grab, which is Snip, right? Quarter circle forward H. So this applies an afro. And this afro extends their hurt box up. You'll notice that 5k doesn't normally connect. And this move is as fast as a jab, pretty much. It's a 7-frame normal. It's not disjoint, but it is very hard to whiff punish. And like, done meaty, it can be plus. I messed it up. But
no worries.
This is a very dominant, like it even combos into itself if you do it meaty enough. Like there's a lot of value here. And once you hit them, it's very hard for characters to beat it. I can set, after recovery, I can set Kai to 6p on wake up. And you see, like, he can't really beat it cleanly. If he does it on wake up against my 5k normally, right, he wins. But with this, he can't. The Afro disables all non-full body invincibility. Blah, that was a mouthful. Anything with upper body invincibility, like 6Ps, anything with like low body invincibility or whatever you want to call it. Essentially, the Afro is a big hurt box that can't be removed easily. If the character has a DP, that will make them fully invincible, and so the Afro won't do anything. But against moves that just have like really nice hurt boxes on them, or really nice hitboxes, it completely removes that. So Kai doing 6P, or even I'm curious about his where is it? Stun Dipper, right? So he might be more vulnerable. Maybe not in this case, but he might be more vulnerable to buttons, right? Normally, I think Stun Dipper just goes under 5k. Right. If I could time it right. Or it at least goes under by far as. Right? And now he got counter hit. If I set him to do that, and I just knocked him down normally, I lose. Yeah. So that's an example of like, once you land Afro, you the rest of your options become bolstered, like quite a bit. It's like a reverse install or something. Like Kai has Dragon install, while Afro install would be like Faust landing command grab.
Is Snip your favorite move of Faust?
It would have to be the most interesting aspect of him. Well, that and items. You do, like, depending on the matchup, you get access to these like crazy like conversions. Because the Afro will explode when hit with a fire-based attack. So that is like the second property of Afro, is you can light it on fire. And it can lead to like combo opportunities you wouldn't get normally. On hit, it causes an explosion that you can combo from. On block, it explodes after about 3 seconds, which means you can force them to block something, light the Afro on fire, and then run a pressure string, and then playing around the subsequent explosion, you can run mix-ups. So in our matches earlier, I was doing stuff like this, where I would swap sides right before the explosion happens. So this is insanely powerful, because essentially, like, being able to left-right someone in this game for little risk is like very strong. It's like exceptionally good. And he can do it from full screen, provided he just like lands the Afro, right? There are a lot of matchups where they can't stop you from lighting the Afro on fire after you land Snip. So once Faust lands this, it's like, I think LK posted a thing. He's like, yeah, Faust's Afro is like having a superpower. It's something no other character has access to. It's ridiculously powerful for this game. It gives them access to like instant overheads. So like, because they're so tall, even when crouching, most characters you can actually just like, oh shit. You can actually just like rising jump K, jump D, and they won't, they just have to guess, right? The rising jump K hits so quickly that they're just standing up on a read if they want to block it. So if you don't go high, right, you can combo into stuff, you can knock them down, you can go in again. There's a lot you can do. And you can always reapply the Afro to reset the timer. Normal Afro lasts for about 10 hits or about 10 seconds. And the on-fire Afro lasts for 3 seconds, and then it explodes. So you can get up to 30 or 13 seconds of coverage by like playing with the Afroed opponent and then lighting them on fire at the last moment. So it's like you're playing this mini game until you decide to cash out, provided you can stay on top of the opponent. It's very, very, very strong.
Yeah, that adds a lot of layers to what's happening. Because I mean, with this character already defending against him, you have to look at whether or not he threw an item, look at what that item is, look at how he's going to interact with that item, and then having the added mental game of, am I afroed now? How am I going to deal with having an afro? Is just the mental stack is there.
Yeah. And a lot of characters just like don't have good answers once they have afro on. It's matchup by matchup, but some of like most characters like have like a set of like key defensive tools. Like Ino has stroke, right? The low profile attack that slides across the ground. That loses the low profile once she has afro on. So you can just like Faust can just like poke her with any poke he wants. He can just hit her out of it for free. So he starts like dominating neutral. If they're cornered, they don't really have good answers to escape because 6P doesn't work either, right? So at this range, they don't really have like strong options, and like it's not uncommon for a character to like only have access to slash normals at this distance, like mid-range on hit or on block of something. And now you have access to like whiff punishes you didn't normally have. Like being able to whiff punish someone by just like jumping and pressing jump D, and if they block, you're plus anyways. Like he becomes very explosive as a character. Like once he's applied afro.
So between items and afro, I think we've covered a lot of what's really, really positive about this character. But at the moment, I mean, early in the new patch in this game, a lot of people see him as like towards the bottom, if not the worst character in the game. So like from your perspective, what do you think are the areas he struggles in? Like why do people have that opinion of him that he's so like unviable at the moment?
Yeah, I think he's kind of difficult to use. That might have something to do with it. He doesn't have like really easy answers to certain situations, but he does have like what are the struggle areas? Struggle areas would be like after his 5P and 2P, he's not necessarily in a good situation. It's maybe less obvious in like Kai's match in like the Kai matchup, but against characters like Geo, I find that you just lack a decent spread of like damaging options or decent counterplay because this move is like 0 on hit. So when he lands it, both characters are sort of like even, right? So if you happen to land it up close, Faust doesn't actually have like a fast normal to like counter poke with. He might have like yellow 6P, but that's about it, and that's like horribly unsafe. Even his like 5K is like it won't at close ranges. It won't like win against other like faster options. Or if the character has like an option that just goes under, he's going to struggle to find like really good answers to counter poke. So like he can only to trap like against like low profile like S normals. He can only do more of these. And if they block 1, he's in a pretty bad situation because this is -3 on block. So it's like maybe not in the Kai matchup, but in like the Soul matchup, in the Geo matchup. I feel like against characters like Nagoriyuki or Milia, characters with like really that can like I'd say like characters that can challenge his jump well if he tries to jump at -3, and that sounds really silly, but I feel like those characters do really well in like close range against him when he's forced to use his like P normals. If he can't land like confirms into 6P, which don't work at all ranges. Oh, I guess it works against Kai. That's good. But there are situations where he can't actually land that. I should probably check which characters that doesn't function well against.
Yeah, we can go with it's unreliable for the time being.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I hesitate. Like, also his dive kick is kind of butts. It's hard to use. That sort of like is part of the equation. Like, jumping is normally like a very potent option when you're like kind of even and at close range. You can always jump. Like, if an opponent like pokes you, right? Jumping is technically like a faster option than some of your pokes, right? Like, I could jump after Far Slash starts up, and I can still clear the Far Slash, right? It's like, I have to jump pretty much at the same time, but jumping to clear something to get up and over is a pretty like fast option. But that jump in I did wasn't to punish, right? But dive kick is, because it's like a fast 10-frame option that goes straight down from an air state. So if Faust gets a little tiny gap, you can always like counter poke with dive kick. But dive kick is completely unsafe on hit if you don't RC. So he has this great tool, but it's completely punishable on hit in some matchups. This would probably be the last, like, really obvious example. So I can't do anything. Maybe if he does H. This is good learning. So at max distance, I could probably do something. But too close? And not really. Also, he can also just, like, confirm the fact that I threw bag. He doesn't actually have to do, like... Technically, I don't think he has to actually, like, commit to Vapor Thrust until he sees, like, either option and then do it. So I feel like once players are really on point with reacting to, like, what Faust does after dive kick, the post dive kick situation is just going to get worse and worse. But I really don't feel like that's a thing for the general playing populace. No one's, like, cleanly reacting after dive kick, I found. Like, I even play in Celestial, and no one knows jack all about the Faust matchup. So anyone who's, like, complaining about Faust's potency, I don't know how hard he is to use at, like, lower levels of play, but, like, you could just improve at GG, and you would start, like, waltzing over, like, tons of people. So...
All right, so let's dig into some nuances of your play a little bit. So we talked about neutral a little bit, like what he wants to do with items, that he is good at poking. But let's dive into your specific game plan. So when you're in neutral, what moves are your favorites to throw out to try to create an opening, close a gap? What do you like to do?
So my neutral is kind of focused on a couple of things. Generally, I want to like. What was my best approach to neutral is like, there's a document out there, and some people might have heard of it, or you might have even seen it before. It was Machabo's Rule of 3, or at least he was like quoting someone else or something. And it was translated into English. It's hosted on some like website somewhere called GG Fundamentals or something. You could Google it. And it talks about almost like a rock, paper, scissors in neutral, which is, do you go to touch the opponent who's playing reactively? Do you play passively to bait out a preemptive response? Or do you press a preemptive response to challenge their approach or their attempt to touch you? And so I kind of use that as a basis. So if I can identify the kind of like mode the opponent is in, like, are they playing reactively? Are they playing predictively? Usually that'll dictate like what my goal is in a given moment. Do I like try to run forward? Do I like hang back and just wait to like bait out a whiff punish? Or do I like swing, right? Do I think that they're going to like run forward or use movement or something? Can I check their approach? There's a lot going on. So like, I know in this matchup, Kai is like looking to whiff punish my options with like 2S stun dipper or something, or whatever the hell Kai does, right? So if he's like looking for reaction whiff punishes, right, where he's got his eyes open and he's just trying to like clip me, at like for doing whiffing 2H in front of him, right? He's gonna be watching the screen, right? So like if I whiff something in neutral, if I whiff this button in front of someone, if I whiff this button right in front of someone and they're like a really strong player, if I whiff this button in front of someone, if I whiff this button, maybe, depends on how good they are, I'm dead. Like, a really strong player will actually just, like, do dash button, and I'll eat some damage, or I'll get knocked down. I might do, like, dash 2D, right? Because this move is really, really fast. Right? So, like, that would be, like, a pretty common play, except instead of backdash, it would be, like, walk back. But, so... reaction-based plays are very safe because you don't have to press anything ahead of time, right? You're just using movement. Movement can't be counter hit. Movement can't be anti-aired, right? Well, it can be, but like movement on the ground is not hittable, right? There's not a good way to like hit someone for movement. So reactive play is very safe. But if someone is playing reactively, there's an inherent delay on all of their attacks, all of their choices, all of their decisions, right? They're not just like, if they were pressing a big button in neutral on a read, then they're not playing reactively anymore, right? So if you can ID when someone is playing reactively, you can use the fact that they're waiting about 15 to 20 frames, 25 frames if they're surprised. You can use the fact that they're focused and waiting for an option to take advantage of that. And that's key. So like if someone is playing reactively in neutral and they're just like looking for something, right? Sometimes you'll see like the ground shimmy or whatever, or backdashes or whatever. If someone's doing that, you can get in. You can probably get like this far up before they even like realize that you did like a dashing 5p. They'll go, ah, shit, what the fuck? How do you get in? So you can probably clear like this gap here, like between me and Kai, invisibly. Like me doing this suddenly is invisible to reactions, right? Unless they're really on point or they're on caffeine, like a lot of Red Bull, like a lot. Responding to something like this gap, this size gap with like a dash up quick button, is just like not a thing. So if you ID someone is playing reactively, you can approach. Now, if you're further out, depending on their habits, they might start to react once you get into like this range, right? If I'm running in forward from here, they might like press a button on reaction to me running in, right? It's like they might respond like once I get halfway. And so I can't get into throw range if they're playing reactively if I start from here, right? But maybe I know that they try to preempt my run, my dash in throw, right? With bar S once I get into range. So let's see if I can do this. Nope. Right? I can try to like jump over it, right? Okay, let's try that. Right, I can run in, and I know that they have a habit of responding to my forward run, like the movement tell of my forward run with a button. And then I jump at them. But maybe they don't even do that at all. Maybe I guessed wrong, right? So I run, and then I jump. But I saw no far ass, so I just bail. Like mid jump, I'm still playing reactively, and I'm like, oh shit, get out. Because I don't want to like commit and just get anti-aired for like trying to like jump in on someone who's just like standing there waiting for me. So this is sort of like a section of my neutral game plan as Faust. The rest would be like, what if he's trying to do the same to me? Like the inverse. Like, what if Kai is trying to approach? Like, what if he's like running in with buttons? What do I do against something like this, right? And one would be like backdash to upset his spacing suddenly. And then whiff punish, right? Because like if he whiffs a button, in front of me, he doesn't have enough time. Even if I don't get the punish, he doesn't have enough time to upset my 2H item toss spacing. So I can kind of like take that, even if he blocks it. If he's like going for dash and throw, right? I can like jab his approach and like kind of like secure advantage, right? But if he's like going for like dash in like preemptive buttons, right? Like if like that, well then what if I just like kept waiting? Right? I could like just get a reaction with punish. So this interaction between reacting and preempting, and how reactions and predictions play into the options you present and the options they present, kind of like defines what you're supposed to be doing. And then your goal from that point, once you kind of understand reactions, predictions, going in, creating good situations for yourself, all that stuff, you just start to hedge your bets. And that would be like the rest of neutral, which is, do I have one option that beats like two of Kai's options, right? If I'm scared of Kai running in and doing dash in 2S in neutral, but I'm also scared of him doing dash in like jump in, do I have a button that beats both? Do I have an option that beats both? And it could be like a maneuver, like a rising jump K, right? Like I could keep him out by doing that. Which would leave me plus here, but against like a dash in 2S, maybe it would actually be like advantageous for me, right? So you start to think about your options as like, I want to beat two things that I think my opponent is going to do, or my opponent likes to do. And you don't think about this in mid-match at all. This is strictly like stuff you try to do after a match happens, or else your brain will explode. Yeah, so hedging your bets and understanding predictions and reactions and how that plays into everything.
So I'm going to ask now, because I know there's going to be the Faust player watching this who's new to Guilty Gear Strive, who their neutral game plan is stand full screen and throw out 5H and thrust and 6H. And I need your take on this. Is it worth it to take him far away and use these gigantic buttons that he has at a distance, or do you try to avoid that kind of neutral plan?
If it works, it works. And honestly, if someone is letting you throw items, that's great. That's good. Throwing items is a net benefit for Faust most of the time, so you might as well do it, right? You're like, well, I can throw trumpet and they'll pick it up sometimes. It's like, yeah, but on the whole, you're more likely to get meteors, and you're more likely to get like hammers, and you're more likely to pull a chibi Faust, and you're more likely to pull something that lets you win neutral. And look at your win rate, right? That trumpet is not causing your win rate to be like 30%, where it could be like 50% or 70%, right? You're like, the items you get on the whole will help you a lot. So if someone's just like chilling at a distance, like Kai's out here and he's just like, he's like jumping around and he's like waiting because he doesn't know what to do, just like keep going. Hit the bombs away, right? Pick up trumpet when you can. Just let it all come out, right? And don't stop. That's probably more useful than like thrust and 6H. Against newer players, thrust and 6H are fantastic. But let's see if I can. It's like you can 6P that on reaction pretty consistently. So it is. I talk about this in a recent video representing thrust. I forget what video it was in. It's all a blur now. But you do want to like threaten thrust. You're like, hey, thrust exists. You should play reactively, right? I talked about like opponents playing reactively before. Because if you force them to play reactively, they're not going to be sticking out bigger read stuff in neutral that might give you trouble, right? Like Kai's not going to like suddenly throw a fireball if thrust is on deck, right? He might die. Like he's not going to do like charge stun edge from like super full screen. some characters like Leo or Soul, they might shy away from other options, but it's super dangerous. So I don't recommend like doing it. You just want to like show them that you could do it to try and bait them into weaker options. Yeah. So like do one, maybe two, and then just stop and just like see how they adjust. If you're playing against like weaker characters who don't, or weaker players who don't really have like good grasps on movement or dash blocking or 6Ps on reaction, you can just do it a lot until they adjust. Like that's my advice. Just like if it works, use it. Yeah. As far as 6H at a distance goes, it's not bad, but I feel like if they manage to jump over it, because the hitbox isn't like the best at a long distance, some characters can like make you eat shit for it. So
I know you from fighting you that you favor being in the opponent's face, going for the Afro grab, and playing from that. So at a full screen, if you have someone who's trying to like play a runaway game from you, do you like in your game plan have an item where you decide that it's go time? Like you throw meteor, like time to run. What is it?
Yeah, that's probably meteors is the easiest one to apply. So with meteors, you can just like, oh, you see it? You can cross them up, and you can cross them up at any point in the meteors. Each hit of meteors is a guard crush, and guard crush is very special in the sense that it rechecks for like character position or whether or not you're holding the right direction when it comes to blocking correctly. That's not normal. Normally, if you're put in block stun and you're touched again, if it's not like a high-low, you'll auto guard the rest of the string, right? But that's not the case with guard crush. So with guard crush, it's like you can cross up at any point during the hits, and they have to block all subsequent hits correctly. And that's disgusting because like meteors like up to 5, I think. 5 or 6 different meteors. If they all connect, there's no way they're blocking that consistently unless they get really lucky. So what you can do is if you see meteors, throw one more item and then teleport. And that should auto time it for you. Even if you don't like feel like you want to cross up, maybe you throw like meteors then trumpet. You just run forward. Because like what are they going to do? They're going to jump back to dodge it. Maybe they'll run at you to try and ruin it. But those are all things you can pretty consistently deal with as a as Faust. Like if they block all the meteors from the front, right? You can go in for like grab mix-ups. The post guard crush situation very much favors you trying to grab them or you trying to like smack them for jumping. So mixing up between close S or grab after meteors like that, or oh, I goofed it. Yeah, around that timing. And you have like a 50-50 mix-up where if they guess wrong, they're just dead.
Let's move on from neutral. I want to talk about what you're doing, what I think is maybe the most interesting aspect of your personal game. I want to know the finer points of what you're doing when you have someone in pressure. So we've talked about, playing a strike throw game, getting the command grab, getting the Afro set up. What do your block strings look like when you're trying to condition to get that strike throw going? What are you just doing to make them sweat when they're blocking?
I have 3 key strings that I do, and they all benefit things a little differently. So I have like close S 2S 5H is like a confirm you can do, and it's like in the corner it leads to like pretty good damage. You can like break the wall off this. If I did it right, if I knew the route, if I remembered the route, I could break the wall. So if you hit with any, button in this string, you get like really good damage. This is really good for when you suspect that they might be mashing during pressure strings. So if you represent throw on their wake up, or close S throw, or even close S 2S throw, right? You're going to provoke a response at some point, right? So there we go. So you can trap them by just doing small delays in this sequence. So it's just like close S, 2S, 5H is normally tight. Leave tiny delays. And you can punish them. Like, I took out half his health for mashing, right? So against players who feel like poking out, maybe they're playing a character that prefers to poke out as opposed to jump. So like Nagoriyuki has a very terrible jump, so he's probably more likely to press 5P to defend himself, or backdash. He'll probably choose those two options as opposed to jumping. So he's more likely to fall prey to like a close S string. If I think they're going to be jumping more in defense, I'm going to be doing lots of 2K low into 2D. This is -4 on block, so it's safe. There's a 1 frame gap between the 2K and the 2D. So depending on how close you are, it can do more hits. But this string is just really good if you think they might try to jump away from your throw. So it's not uncommon to have characters try to fuzzy jump. Fuzzy jump is when you like block on wake up and then you jump as soon as throw invuln would disappear, I guess. Because when you get up off the ground, you have 5 frames of throw invulns where you can't be grabbed. So you can kind of hedge your bets on defense by like blocking a little, then jumping, right? But that's done on a prediction, not on a reaction. So you can prey on that. So 2K is really good because it's a sequence of lows. So if they're holding up back to jump suddenly in block stun, you can actually like catch them. So let's see. Like that. So they did block the first low because they were blocking the meaty, but then they tried to jump because they were afraid of like, they were probably like trying to fuzzy jump away from like my close S, right? So they were scared of this string and they were trying to negate it. If I just let them go, they're jumping. And if I tried to grab them again, they would jump away. So 2K is very good at stopping that because it's just a bunch of lows. So as they try to up back to jump away, you catch their up back input, or in some cases, you catch their pre-jump with the initial hit. So those are my 2 strings. There's one more, which is just 5P, 5P, 5P. Boop, 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 boop. So slightly delayed, this acts as a frame trap, and you get like a decent amount of hits out of them. So on block, it just works really well to challenge like people mashing like that. And this can be useful in some ways. Done meaty enough, done correctly. Let's see. Done correctly, this can actually be like safe from dragon punches and bursts and wire C. So you stand to gain a lot by like threatening with 5Ps and running offense with 5Ps. Like you can bait wire C, you can bait burst with a single 5P. And you know how I talked about like it takes players some time to react to things?
Right.
You can cut your offense short after a 5P in some cases and just throw them, right? And they can't even register the fact that you went for something, right? After close S, they might be able to like realize that you didn't go like this, right? Like you didn't do like close S 2S and you went for close S into something. They might be able to react to that with like DP or something, or even jump. And it's kind of hard to snipe because like sniping a jump with like 2S is not that strong. And also at some ranges, you can't even like snipe a backdash. But 5P doesn't have this weakness. 5P is exceptionally good at stopping backdash. It's exceptionally good at catching jumps. It's very safe on block. And you can suddenly go into throws. So you can provoke more defensive plays, defensive reads from the opponent just by like suddenly throwing in command grabs.
That's like it's fast enough that it's almost inching on tick throw territory.
Yeah, and that's what it is, essentially. It's that fast, yeah. So I do tick throws after all of my options, whether it's 2K or close S or 5Ps, just to represent the fact that I can throw on wake up, I can throw after buttons. You better respond, be fearful, because the Afro situation is so terrifying. But I find that 5P is the best way to hedge against multiple options. It's the best at hedging against backdash. You can like meaty certain reversal supers, like Pot's Gigantor Kai. You can actually like meaty 5P him, and you'll block the Gigantor Kai. Or you can even throw him out of his super. You can just like, he did a wake up super, and you just like, you just chuck him out of it. So the meaty 5P is just very scary in that sense. Yeah, those are my 3 close range sequences that I kind of like everyone should be using, essentially.
Oki, kind of prominent in this game, but not as like excessive as it has been in older games. With Faust, older games, the Oki is usually you knock them down, you throw an item. Do you think that is persistent in Strive? That's like your go-to?
Yeah. So if you do land like 2K 2D, you do take item Oki. Right, this is like let's see, just disable that. This is really common, and then you use the item to set up like either a tick throw that's hard to challenge, or you like set something up off of it. So like if you land hammer's pretty common. You can throw, and if they try to like jump away. Let's set the opponent to guard all, disabled, and counterattack settings on recovery jump. So it won't play out exactly like this given the recording, but that's safe, mostly. Pretty safe. Sometimes it's even plus, depending on how the hammer connects. Hammer arc is randomized, so it's like a clown fiesta sometimes. You just don't know how your Oki is going to pan out in some cases.
But neither do they.
Yeah, neither do they, right? So the fact that you can threaten a command grab and be 100% safe and not spend any bar is like really good, especially because in some matchups, especially the Kai matchup where he just has like really bad reversal options for shutting down the post snip situation. He doesn't have a reversal that can stop you after snip if you learn to like safe jump D. His DPs are too slow. Only if he has meter can he do ride the lightning, and even that can be safe jumped with like the air dash jump H. So he's just like screwed. Like he has to eat a 50-50 after eating a command grab that was 100% safe, more or less. Like even if he DP'd through the command grab, he'd probably get hit by the hammer. So he wouldn't get anything out of it. So like taking the item Oki off like 2K 2D is like awesome. That's great. And you know, sometimes I've done stuff like this where I've literally like looped hammer to hammer, like just like vortex them. It doesn't do like an incredible amount of damage off the low option, but it's safe. It's so safe, and that's just like that's very strong for this game. Yeah. I mentioned earlier, like if you counter hit someone with 6P in this matchup, then you can just like start pulling, right? You might see the Nage highlights where he just like pulls hammer after hammer after hammer after hammer. If you see hammer come out, you just keep pulling, because like the hammer, you see how it's bouncing, right?
Yeah.
In front of me. That's a persistent hitbox. So it stays out for a long time, which means they can't approach on the ground at all. So it's very hard for them to get around hammer if you just decide to keep throwing items. And somewhere in the middle, like one hammer is good for about 2 item tosses. So if you throw a hammer, throw 2 more items. have a game plan for like hammer followed by X and then Y. You'll find your responses to your item tosses clean up quite a bit. Yeah, in the corner, things get a little crazy because there is a mechanic for continuing wall Oki, which Faust can make use of. Let's turn off that wall break. I'll set wall break to instant. So there are sequences you can do to like crank wall break. So if you get used to those, I think I posted a video on my channel if Faust players are interested in that sort of stuff about like how to crank wall damage and then like break it. But if you stick them with a button that doesn't launch, so like 2H is a button that launches, 2D is a button that launches, but all of the rest of Faust's buttons do not. So if I hit Kai here with 5H, you see how he slumps? He can't tech from that. It's actually like a special grounded state. So like you can sort of like, depending on the item you get, you can do some ridiculous stuff. You can either like go for infinite combo if you think you can get like 1,000 hammers in a row, but depending on the item, you can actually like loop Oki. I can go through it. So like if you get bomb, it's like, well, you can either get Oki or you can try to combo off the items you get. It depends. It's like you kind of like pick and choose. So like if I so you can combo from that, you can pick up from the bomb. I'm not sure if you can actually get Oki off of it necessarily. Maybe we'll see that at a later date.
TBD.
Yeah, but like depending on the item, you can actually just like set stuff up. This is how you get banana Oki also. Right, like you can right, this is the only useful instance of banana Oki. If you happen to like throw Afro, this is really good. This is actually insanely strong. Right? You can actually like loop this safe jump setup. Because the Afro explosion also doesn't break the wall. It causes the weird slump. So you can actually sacrifice the wall break and the positive bonus for like really, really, really heinous stuff based on the RNG you get.
This is devious.
Yeah. This is what I was doing. This is what I learned to do or labbed out like incessantly because pre-patch, his super didn't break the wall. So if he did, say I talked about like air wall splats, right? Not being able to cause that wall slump. Right. If you land like 2D as like a stray hit, like say he blocks your 2K, right? We'll say guard, only first hit, and enable. There we go. So say he'd block like the 2K, right? But he got clipped by the 2D. Right? What can I do here to extend like damage or whatever? You could only do that. 123, that was your optimal conversion, right? And it sucked because it pushed them back to neutral. It was like really bad. The only alternative was letting them tech off the wall. Like it was just awful. It was just like actually terrible. If you did super, it wouldn't break the wall. You'd put them back to neutral. You spent 50 bar and you did get some damage, but it wasn't like that good. Now, you can just like, finally you can actually super. This will do like close to 200, I think. Yeah, pretty close to 200. And you get a safe jump after, and you get positive bonus. So, he went from getting 130 damage and sending them back to neutral because it was like a non-hard knockdown situation after the break, to getting a hard knockdown, doing an extra 70 damage, and like guaranteeing himself pressure for him to build more meter so he can keep going in. So post-patch Faust is just like way stronger at the wall now than he used to be. But even then, I think going for the wall slump stuff, depending on how lucky you are, is like, could be worth it. Could be worth it. I'll have to, yeah.
It seems like in line with what the character's about to me. Like, I'm going to roll the dice on this interaction and hope it plays in my favor. And
also, it looks cool. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Makes for a good Twitter clip, right?
100%.
So,
let's discuss what happens when Faust has to block. So in this game, we talked about this a little bit. Your defense has to be on point. It just has to be.
Yeah.
The options are a little limited. We've got burst, we've got YRC, but if you don't have your burst and you don't have meter, what are you gonna do? What can Faust do when he has to play?
Okay.
Defense?
You have to play honest defense, and this is actually where he kind of like struggles a bit because he doesn't have like a fast jab. He can't if the throw is on point from the opponent, he can't jab them out of it. So he has to jump or he has to backdash. So you really have to explore your defensive options. And what I recommend learning is fuzzy jump. If you don't have fuzzy jump on deck in your repertoire yet, you should be really considering it. FDing on wake up is very important. Just like giving yourself a little breathing room can be like a big deal. So like Soul is a really common example of like someone who has pretty disgusting offense. So this is a pretty common Faust string or Soul string, right? So FDing him out, or even trying to take a pot shot at the IBFD window can be pretty good, even if it's like ridiculously hard. However, Faust can crawl under certain options depending on the opponent he's playing. This is another reason to FD, is to like make space so that they can't get like this like easily, like close S dash close S, right? Right? See, like I just denied close S into dash close S by FDing. So FD, get in the habit of FDing on wake up, just the first button. If you're gonna FD anything, just the first button. You can even jump after, right? Like it's possible. It might be really hard to see, but I'm gonna FD on wake up. I'm gonna FD meaties and then I'm gonna jump. You saw the flash of FD followed by a super jump,
right?
Yeah, and I didn't get grabbed. But if he had done a meaty, right? I'm good. I'm safe. I'm not dead, right? So I ruined one string while also saving myself from being thrown for like half my life bar. So mixing FD with little maneuvers like that can like save your life. Now, how exactly did I ruin that string, right? I pushed him out of close S range. He did far S, right? Far S. He did close S, far S, 5H. Faust has crawl. He can actually crawl under most far S style normals. There's very few far S's in the game where he can't crawl under them. And those are really common pressure options from the opponent, regardless of the character you're playing. Sometimes you'll have characters who do like close S, 2S something. But in those matchups where you see a lot of like just standing SSH or whatever, blocking something and then crawling is pretty good. Now, if Soul gets wind of this, he can always like counterplay by doing something that you can't crawl under, right? And then he can like, if he has 50 bar, he can do a bazillion damage. But that move I just pointed out right there, 5H, is not that good on block. It's like not that crazy, right? If I just block, I'm actually like, he's punishable here. If I had any timing at all, I would just punish with 5p. So all of Soul's options after 5H are not the best. Like, oh, if I have D, right? I'm out, right? If he does, I have the potential to like get a lot of damage on defense just by knowing my answers, right? Psychic 5k for Bandit Bringer, reaction dive kick against if I see Gunflame after FDing some. If he does Bandit Revolver, just like blocking and then just like 5p punishing. All of his cancel, and if he just does like this into nothing, then I'm plus, right? I can go in. So yeah, you really want to know what your answers are to the various moves, and you want to try and do things that will constrain their options. So learning to fuzzy jump is quite strong. That will stop them from just going for like man grabs like that. Depending on how you fuzzy jump, you can actually just like get a full punish, right? So fuzzy jump to disrespect throws. Have my answers on deck for when the fuzzy jump actually leads to me blocking stuff. And then focus on the answers that come when they start playing around fuzzy jump. Because fuzzy jump's pretty safe, right? If you get away with a throw on wake up. So this is really common, right? You see this, and then he jumps up and throws you, right? Like command grab PRC, anti-airs you, or air grabs you. Well, Faust, if he like fuzzy jumps on wake up, he's too far away for Soul to like get anything. And so if you have 50 bar, you can like PRC yourself out of the corner and reset to neutral. Like, and he can't do anything about that. Like literally nothing. He just spent 50 bar, you just spent 50 bar, but you've reestablished the screen. So that's not bad. Yeah. So you can even play around some of the higher level stuff by like making use of this stuff. Super jumping if you suspect throw PRCs. Normal jumping if you suspect unmetered throw attempts, like regular throw, and then you just jump and then you land on them with a full counter hit punish. Yeah, and that will set the tone of your defense, and you can build out from there.
Something that just crossed my mind because I just saw you do it. Faust has a weird ass air dash. Is there anything important to know about that air dash?
Yeah, the input buffer on it sucks a lot, so you have to drop a lot of stuff as you learn to play this character. I don't know what they did, like what Arxis did, but it's so hard to like do buttons out of air dash with Faust. Arxis, if you're listening, Arxis, fix my character. Holy crap, I'm tired of dropping stuff. Yeah, hard to cancel out of, so don't feel bad if you like go to like press like jump slash out of it or something and you just goof it. It's just like and it's not even the case on his. Well, it's kind of the case on his. Either way, Arxis, please increase the input buffer. There are people in the community who are like breaking down the game and like looking at like code for the characters, and they can't make heads or tails of it either. They're like, yeah, he's got a weird air dash. So it's very thin. So in some cases you can use it to like skirt certain moves, but really what it's most useful for is like safe jumps. So like you can use the low air dash out of like OTG close S from throw to like safe jump attacks from the opponent. Right? So if I set our favorite guy, Soul, to DP on wake up, I think this works. I could be mistaken. Oh, I must have goofed it. This is actually like incredibly hard to do. There you go. So you can like off throw, you can use it to set up safe jumps. You have to like jump, do like a properly timed low air dash into a properly timed jump H, and then it'll work. But it's hard to do. In some matchups, it's very useful to get that stuff down. Like in there's a list that I just made. Maybe I'll link it to you after the fact, and you can include it in your description or something.
Yeah,
but I literally
please.
made a list of like everyone you can safe jump, and who it's like easiest against, and like who it's most useful for, and then the list of characters where it's just like, nope, don't do it, don't bother. It's not worth it. Yeah. So that's something. That's probably the most useful tool for like the weirdness of his floaty air dash. The rest of it is just like to escape the corner, right? Like if you jump away from something and you're not sure what he's gonna do, then right, you just like sort of like try your best to, and you can sort of like cancel your air momentum by FDing after air dash, and that can like get you back to the ground safely without having to whiff a move. So that's me just like holding back relative to the opponent, right, or forward as I air dash, and after a certain point, you can just like cancel the air dash into air FD and then land safely.
Is the air dash distance variable, or is
I don't
it
think
set?
so. I think it's set, but you can control the height.
Ah, is it like a float up down kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, you can kind of like choose.
It's just like a plastic bag in the wind.
Yep. Yeah, he's got plastic bag vibes, frog vibes, and some others. It's like, yeah.
Krackatoa, if someone came to you tomorrow, said, I'm on the fence about playing Faust in Guilty Gear Strive, what would you say to them to push them over that fence? Why should someone play this character?
Do you like making Twitter clips? That's it. That's it. Just
That's it?
That's the vibe. That's the
Okay.
vibe. Do you? That's it. That's all it is, right? Do you like, making other people really uncomfortable? Because right now, here's the thing. Right now, no one knows dick all about the Faust matchup. So I'm in this like prime bubble right now where no one knows anything about my character. So I'm having a gay old time playing Faust. I am just like throwing items. People are completely overwhelmed. I've been doing this for a long time, so I respond to items pretty well. If I throw a bunch of items on screen, like say there's 3 items in play, I know what's going to happen. I'm like the Zach Galifianakis at the casino in, what was that? What's that movie?
Hangover?
Hangover, right? I'm that. I'm like, but like not losing all of my money or whatever. I can't remember how it played out. And just like seeing the lines, right? And that's really rewarding. And that advantage I have over other players leads to some heinous shit happening on screen, right? Like combos into bombs, setting up dumb meteor setups, like getting in for free, multiple layers of like, just neutral just gets obliterated, right? When the right sequence comes along, Faust just gets in for free, and he gets to run like really potent like close range mix-ups. So if you like to go in and do like that kind of stuff, but you also like to just like create chaos, this is your guy. And he's one patch away from being like super extra busted.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
like he's right. Like if they ever make dive kick combo on normal hit, game over. Game over. This character becomes like super top tier instantly. Like if they made that one change, oh no. Or
in your case, oh yes.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I love it, man. I really like the way you play this character. I really
Thank
like
you.
just the pure chaos that comes with him. When you put this character on the screen, what the hell's going
Make things
on?
happen.
That's
Yeah.
my only thought the whole time is
That's
what
the
the hell is
vibe.
going on.
That's the vibe.
I love it. Well, that's all I've got for you today, man. Appreciate you
All
stopping
right.
by, hanging out,
Thank you.
giving the breakdown. Yeah, I'll let you go. We're good.